What's up, gamers and geeks? I want to ask you a question. How many D&D gamers do we have in here? How many of these tabletop dice slingers are out there? I know there's a lot, but I'd like to know how many are watching here because I want to know what your take is on Dungeons and Dragons alignments. And do you follow them right, just right straight to the strictest code? Or do you kind of lapse on it a little bit because you also believe that a player should be able to play his character however they want? Well, anyway, that's what I'm going to cover, so stay tuned. In my parties that I have DM'd, as I've been a dungeon master for almost 40 years, we've had a lot of conflicts, especially with paladins and clerics. And you have a lot of darker characters and you got these lawful good ones, but alignment can really just split a party and cause a major conflict for a DM. But if you are new here, please feel free to subscribe to That's Fair Podcasting or Gaming Geeks Live. Maybe like the video, we're kind of at your mercy. You like, we get higher, views, and it's all on you. If you don't do any of those though, who cares, man? If you watch the video, I sincerely appreciate it. And again, I am Matt, and I just want to thank you for joining me. But anyway, Dungeons and Dragons alignments. Let's start there. For those who aren't quite familiar, you have to follow a certain class and or race alignment, which means mostly class. Like there are specific classes that make you have to be a certain way, especially if they're worshiping a certain god, and that god, you have to match your alignment with that god. So like if you're a lawful good cleric or paladin, and let's say you're traveling with someone who could possibly be a Dhampir, which is a half human, half born vampire, that would create a lot of conflict. And I like my character, my PCs to get along, A lot of conflict is done based out of being so strict and adhering to specific alignments laid down by the player's handbook in Dungeons and Dragons that it could quite possibly make it impossible to actually enjoy it. Now, I'm not saying everyone goes to that extreme, but a lot of people are very strict to the alignments that are guided by their character class, and I don't think they should be. And there's a specific way I do it. But anyway, there's a lot of class conflicts. Let's point out paladin character classes and cleric character classes who use a lot of the same magical abilities gifted by their gods. These are more religious type of character classes. You have your cleric, who's more of a priest or priestess, and then you have your paladin, which is more of a holy warrior that still adhere to the same god. And even paladins eventually get some magical ability, but not quite as much as a cleric does. And I just don't like the strict guidelines that alignments play in roles, even in video games. Like in Mass Effect 2, you have your Paragon and your Renegade, which that doesn't really restrict you. You can play Commander Shepard any way you want. But in Dungeons and Dragons, it's hard on dungeon masters when you have a conflict with classes, because there's such a high diversity of character classes when you are, playing Dungeons and Dragons. There's a high diversity of them. You have a lot of your sword wielders, like Paladin, but you have your typical fighters or rangers who can do sword and bow. And then you have your monks, some of my favorites. But your rogues are also sword wielders, typically your long or broadsword, not typically a two-handed sword, but you have a lot of different diverse sword wielders, and then you have a diverse group of people that use magic, be it through their gods, through the arcane powers laid down to them, as far as them being wizards and sorcerers and whatnot. But alignments can really cause a major conflict in a party, and the way I do it, it's kind of where I'm going with this. The way I typically lay it down is I like to make sure that the player can play his character any way they see fit. And typically it's going to bend the rules and sometimes break the rule, even with paladins and clerics, unless it's an extreme situation where they have a certain background. I want all alignments to kind of get along, even if they have completely opposite ends of the spectrum types of character classes or even races. And that way it does allow for a better party, to come together and to learn to trust one another inside the game, mind you. Like if you're traveling through Faerun, if you're playing Dragonlance, Greyhawk, or even Ravenloft. And I gotta say that, I take alignment completely out of it. I don't, there's a deck of many things, and there's one card in there if you draw it, it says change alignment or be judged. Nah, pardon the expression, but fuck that. You play your alignment however you see your character is to be fit to the way, and you tailor make it to the way you want to play them, regardless of what and who they are. And that's just kind of the way I've always been. I've never really worried too much about keeping strict alignment guidelines. Guys, I know this video doesn't really have a lot of merit in the way of being important, but I just want, like any dungeon masters out there, to realize you don't have to just strictly stick to any guidelines laid down by the Dungeon Master's Guide. If someone wants to play a different alignment, fuck it, let them. Like in first edition, in order to play a certain thing, you had to be a lawful anything, like lawful good, lawful neutral, lawful evil, or chaotic good, chaotic neutral, chaotic evil. And I removed those restrictions just simply because everyone's different as far as playing characters. And those people want to play those characters the way they almost would envision themselves inside the world of Toril, or whatever it's called, or the country of Faerun. There's different countries on Faerun. Obviously, you have or not on Faerun, but Toril, the world. You have Faerun, you have Al-Qadim, you have like the island of Wa, or Kara-Tur, and you have all these different countries and whatnot. But I guess long story short, don't restrict your players by alignment, even if they're not following it or adhering to way the book. And the book will tell you, bend it a little bit. Bend the rules a bit to tailor make to your own campaign. And I promise you, your players will thank you for it. If those of you that literally just stick strict guidelines of alignment, if you live and die by it, it's just never going to really work unless you got puppets. And I mean, that's just my opinion. Anyway, guys, that was all I had to say. My way of playing tabletop, I just remove alignment altogether and allow people to play the races, and especially character classes, any way that they feel that they would play it in the actual world. And I think you get a more rich, deeper, and more meaningful campaign that way. That's just my opinion. But anyway, guys, thank you for watching this pointless video. I sincerely appreciate it. Please feel free to subscribe to That's Fair Podcasting with Gaming Geeks Live. Thank you so much for all the subscribers that have jumped on to That's Fair Podcasting. It really means the world to me. Like the video, you help us out, man. We're at your mercy. But I just want to say, if you didn't, again, do any of those, it doesn't matter. Thank you so much for watching. And to you gamers and dice slingers out there, all love, and I'm outro.